going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Red and Gold Standard podcast. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Matt Llewellyn. Matt, I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. I hope all the viewers did as well. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, Zach. I'm excited to be over Thanksgiving. I had to make the turkey, so it's a big responsibility on my shoulders. It turned out pretty good. So with that being resolved and out of the way, we can turn our focus to the football game on Sunday. And it's an important one, so let's jump right into it.
Yeah, definitely. Guys, if you're watching on Twitter, head over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/49ers Hive. Join the stream there. We cannot see or interact with any comments on Twitter, so just make sure you join on YouTube so we can get the full effect of the show. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Yeah, before we get started, I want to say thank you to you guys. Hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving, like I said. But, Matt, this is a huge game for the 49ers, huge playoff implications. The 49ers, after the Thanksgiving games wrapped up, moved all the way up to the 7th seed, which a few weeks ago just sounded preposterous to even think about. If they win tomorrow against the Minnesota Vikings, they move up to the 6th seed. What are your kind of quick keys for them to win this game?
They have to limit what Kirk Cousins is going to do. Honestly, it's really hard because the Vikings offense is actually pretty good. Because when you think about stopping people like Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, you turn around and look, and now you have to deal with Dalvin Cook too. So, being able to limit big plays, particularly to the outside in that secondary, is going to be really important. And just staying very disciplined on defense. And then on the opposite side of the ball, you need to be able to run the ball. Minnesota is going to be without their 3 top defensive linemen. And while I mention it, I just want to say, shout outs to Everson Griffin. I hope that he gets the help that he needs. That was a scary situation. And, it's mental health is a real issue, ladies and gentlemen. So I hope that he recovers as quickly as possible and as safely as possible, and that he can get, back to feeling like himself again. So that being said, there's an opportunity here for the 49ers to run the football. They have to be able to do that. So limit your mistakes on defense, maybe even cause a turnover or two, and being able to run the rock on the opposite side of the ball. That's the quick keys to this game. It's going to be far more than that, but just on the surface, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, definitely. And agree with your take there. Shout out to Everson Griffin, Hope he's doing better now. The 3 defensive linemen out for the Vikings, I think is extremely key, especially if the 49ers are able to get Elijah Mitchell back, which sounds like they might. And we'll get into the injury report in a bit, but I think that's going to be huge because we saw against the Jaguars, even though the Niners beat up on them and they were offensively moving the ball, the running game wasn't the same as we've seen it with Elijah Mitchell. Jeff Wilson Jr., you've been very clear that you don't think he's as good as a lot of fans think he is. A lot of fans are still living off of that Arizona Cardinals game-winning touchdown reception, which I think is a fair take. I really do think a lot of people
it's just he's never been higher than 3rd on the depth chart. So when everybody's healthy, he's never higher than 3rd. So when you're talking about a 3rd string running back, like he's, everybody expected him to come back and have 100-yard games, I guess, but that was never in the cards. Elijah Mitchell is clearly the best football player they have in the backfield. And if it's not him, then Deebo Samuel's taken over. So I'd like to actually limit Deebo's touches in that regard because I think that that's not the best way to utilize him. And it's fortunate they could use him like that, but you don't want him getting banged up behind the line. You'd rather have him on the outside making plays or running the jet sweeps rather than lining up in the backfield and taking handoffs.
Yeah, exactly. It's just not, I don't know, kind of increases his chance of injury, I guess is how I'm trying to put it. But I think, like you said, running the ball, running it well is the key to beating the Vikings because unlike Jimmy Garoppolo, Kirk Cousins is not afraid to push the ball deep down the field. He's shown he can do it. He's got fantastic weapons on the outside, and Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, they are more than capable of doing it. And that's kind of the 49ers' main weak spot is their secondary. I know they've played well for the past 2 weeks against the Rams and the Jaguars. However, I don't know what exactly. The Rams got down early with Stafford's pair of picks, one being taken back to the house, the other that led to a touchdown. And the Jaguars are the Jaguars. So, that kind of says it for itself. But the 49ers cannot sleep on the Vikings. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter saying, the the 49ers are, going to sleep on it, or this is going to be a trap game. If they treat this like a trap game, it's just mind-bogglingly stupid to me, because the Vikings are a very, very capable team, and they've shown it. I mean, they've won just as many games as the 49ers have, and all of their losses, and I think you said this in the Jaguars wrap-up, have been one-score games, if I remember correctly. So they play tough games. They really do. What do you expect, Matt, out of Jimmy G tomorrow?
I can't tell you what my expectations are, because he seems to just oscillate back and forth. But what I would like to see out of Jimmy G is a limiting of any mistakes. We know he's not going to push the ball outside the numbers. We know he's not going to push the ball down the field. So just don't have any of those Jimmy throws. The last time he played the Vikings in the regular season, he had 3 picks, I believe. That was the opener in 2018. So he's really got to limit it. Again, I think the game plan is what they did to them in the 2019 playoffs, and that's just run the ball down their throat, particularly because this year's defense is weaker than that defense was. And, it's up to Jimmy to take care of the football. The quarterback needs to manage the game. If we're looking at Jimmy as the game manager, he needs to limit the mistakes, the turnovers, whatever. Be a leader like he is, and just don't make any backbreaking mistakes. Keep the ball safe, and everything else should take care of itself, particularly if they have Elijah Mitchell, which I think he's questionable.
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah, officially. I think Kyle Shanahan said he was going to see how that finger felt going into the game, and that it.
Well, I also read somewhere too that they could protect. They felt like they could protect the finger.
Yeah.
So,
which is huge, because if that's, if they're able to do that, then hopefully they can get it in. Yeah, I totally agree with you as well with Jimmy. Protect the ball, because the past 2 weeks, if I remember correctly, he hasn't had a turnover. Now that I can think of, at least he's played good football, at least per Jimmy standards. I've seen some people arguing on back and forth on Twitter saying, "Oh, that's what an 8-year vet should be doing." I think a lot of people forget that it's kind of I don't know, you're kind of taking some liberal with the truth there. You're being liberal with the truth there, because he's not an 8-year vet. I mean, he started 2.5 seasons. Yes, he's been in the NFL for 8 years, but he hasn't played for 8 years straight. So 2.5-year quarterback, he's improved at least for the last couple of weeks compared to the previous 4 weeks. I want to see that improvement continue, because if not, the 49ers playoff chances could be kissed goodbye tomorrow for all I know. What would you say? We talked about Justin Jefferson. We talked about Adam Thielen. How about the Vikings running game? Does that concern you at all?
I mean, it's Dalvin Cook, so of course it does. He's fantastic. Yeah, you want to limit that. But I mean, if there's running the clock down on both sides of the ball will only benefit the 49ers, because the 49ers are not going to make as many chunk plays as the Vikings will on offense. You alluded to how Kirk Cousins isn't afraid to air the ball out, and I can't remember where I heard this, but apparently he, in his first 10 seasons in the NFL, has the most 300-yard, 3-touchdown games of any quarterback in NFL history. So he's done it 26 times in 10 seasons. It's just, and to be fair, a lot of those he was playing from behind. It's garbage time yards, whatever. But at the same time, Kirk Cousins will push the ball down the field if you give him the opportunity. Limit his opportunity to the outside, try to force him to make mistakes. And if Dalvin Cook is running the ball, you got to try to limit what he's going to do. Again, it's a pick your poison. So they have to figure out, what are we willing to give up? What are we not willing to give up? And then focus on those things.
Yeah, I agree. And hopefully, if the 49ers are able to get a lead early, like they have the past 2 weeks, the running game kind of isn't as big of a deal, because the Vikings will be playing from behind, therefore throwing the ball more and more. Christian says Jimmy only being allowed to throw high percentage passes, which is doable because of the run game doing well. Let's hope the run game does well.
Right.
Jay Eli says, semantics. Yep, I guess so. Yes, everyone hit like. Please hit like. Norma, keep punching that ball out. He's done a fantastic job, and I might go as far. I don't know if I will. I might go as far and say Kyle Shanahan was justified for not cutting him after that abysmal decision he made against the Cardinals a couple of weeks back when he got into it with Cliff Kingsbury. Because the turnovers he's creating are key to the 49ers wins the last couple of weeks. And I will say as well, speaking of turnovers, that's been a huge difference for their previous 4-game losing streak to the last 2 games they've won, they're actually getting these turnovers. And we actually saw it, I think, like a clear comparison between the Cardinals game and the Jaguars game, where Josh Norman punched the ball out. Fred Warner was right there, didn't fall on it against the Cardinals, where the Jaguars, he was able to fall on it. So as long as the defense continues to get these turnovers and capitalize on them, the 49ers will be in a good spot to win this game. We talked about this also last week, Matt. Kyle Shanahan, you think, has likely gotten out of that play calling rut. That plays a huge factor into the 49ers winning these games. Do you see that continuing into tomorrow? I know it's kind of hard to predict, but everything he's shown, it seems like he's coached himself out of it, right?
Yeah. First off, I want to say, just as an aside, it's pretty funny how you say Jaguars.
Why? How am I saying
You
it?
say Jaguars.
Jaguars.
Yeah.
I don't notice it. I guess
it's
I
just
say
a
it
funny
weird.
little thing. And that word is pronounced 18,000 different ways, so it doesn't really matter, but I think it's kind of funny. Yeah, I think that Shanahan's kind of turned the corner on his play calling. He's looked pretty inspired the last couple of weeks, and the way that he's put the offensive positions to make things easy for them, whether it be through runs or through passing the ball, it's been pretty outstanding.
Yeah, I agree. And, we talked about Deebo Samuel not getting too many touches in the backfield, but that has been a large reason why the 49ers have been able to win recently. The Rams, not so much, because he was a threat in the passing game. However, against the Jaguars, they used him a lot more as a running back. And he does enter tomorrow with only 6 yards shy of being 1,000-yard receiver, which would be huge for the 49ers. I think he'd be the first since Anquan Boldin, if my memory is correct, to top 1,000 yards. So I really do think that the 49ers get him that. I thought he was going to get it last week against the Jaguars, but he did not get it. Jay Ellie says, Kirkpatrick getting destroyed helped Norman stay with the Niners after Norman was benched. Yep, and Kirkpatrick was quickly released right after that. So let's get into these injury reports, Matt. For the Vikings, let's see. This was as of 2 days ago. I'm not sure if there's anything more recent. This is what I see for the Vikings website. Limited participation, Anthony Barr, Bashad Breeland, and Wyatt Davis. KJ Osborne, wide receiver, full participation. And as far as the Niners, Hasty, Hurst, I believe, are out already, have been ruled out. And Mitchell, Norman, Tomlinson were all questionable. I think Tomlinson and Mitchell are the most key players on the Niners injury report. We talked about Mitchell, but how big would Lake and Tomlinson not playing factor into this game tomorrow?
Yeah, that'd be a big one, man, because they like to run to that side. But he's probably going to play. I'm not worried about that at all.
Okay, good. Dylan says, I told y'all the Niners would get the 7th seed.
Dylan, there's still 7 games left, bro. Pump the brakes. It's not over till it's over, my man. This week will be very telling, though. If they come out and lay an egg against the Minnesota Vikings, then they're fraudulent, and we're right back where we started.
I agree, yeah. Now the Niners, my dogs. What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate it.
Mike, indeed, yep.
Yeah, I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving with your family, man.
Exactly, yeah. Hope you guys all did. Also, I think something we've seen the past couple of weeks was kind of the emergence or resurgence, I guess you should say, as George Kittle as a red zone threat. He hadn't caught a touchdown in over a calendar year back in October. Now he's caught 3 in 3 weeks in a row. How big does that play into the 49ers red zone offense? I think they're the highest efficiency-wise scoring offense once they get into the red zone. How much does that help the 49ers actually? Because I know teams say once you get inside the 10-yard line, it gets really crammed and it's hard to actually punch it in. But George Kittle now being more than a blocking factor, how much does that help them down there in the red zone?
It's definitely helpful, but I think overall, just the fact that their overall efficiency is so high is what's helping them. We've seen year after year after year where we're talking about they're in the 40% and the 50% of touchdowns in the red zone, and now they're in the 70%. And it's a huge difference. The bend don't break philosophy is something that a lot of teams utilize because once, like you said, everything gets short, they count on their ability to limit you to 3, right? You can give up 500 yards to a team, but if you keep them between the 20s, then they're never going to get touchdowns, and you can theoretically win like that. We've seen teams with mediocre defenses do very well. just by limiting the amount of touchdowns their opponents get. For the 49ers, the fact that they score so many touchdowns when they do get in the red zone it's been a huge thing this year, as opposed to years past when they didn't do that. So having Kittle as a weapon, having Mitchell be somebody who can, take some touchdowns, having Debo able to take it to the house, and just the overall weapons this team has, for Jimmy Garoppolo to kind of at least try to take advantage of some of those situations, it's been really helpful. And it's nice to see Kittle back and seemingly at full strength and getting back to doing what he was doing. It's nice to see him as more than a blocker. I think he's been really, really good the last few weeks. And so obviously you want your offensive leader to be like that. So it's good to see.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that Kittle, not only in the red zone, but we've actually seen him kind of get going again as just a receiving threat, because there was a couple of games where he just wasn't really involved. Maybe that was play calling, maybe that was Jimmy, but it's nice to see him get active again, because the 49ers are a much better team when George Kittle has, 5-6 receptions per game. Pretty interesting question from Dylan. He says, what would you say the Niners are if they lose a close one with the Vikes?
That's a little more muddy. If they come out and play really well and it's just a knockdown, drag out game where anything could happen, those are the ones where you can't get too much one way or another. You can't get too amped. You can't get too down. But you like to see them pull it out at home, mainly because if they don't win, I mean, their last wins at home for the last 2 years have been the Rams, so you need to do better than that. This is a perfect opportunity. You get the national spotlight taken off of you because this game was this the game that was flexed out, or was it? No, it was Seattle,
No,
right? Seattle in 2 weeks. Okay, so this was always the 125. They seem to do really well. The late game, they seem to do pretty well. You don't have the national spotlight on top of you, kind of shining that bright light. So they get to go out there and they just get to, play football in front of the home fans. It's now to a point where that sunny side of the stadium, it shouldn't be as hot, so the fans shouldn't have as much of a problem showing up early and showing out. So there's no reason why home field advantage shouldn't be a thing for the 49ers. And they need to do like they did with the Rams and jump out quickly, and just really take care of business right off the bat so that there's no doubt in anybody's mind. But if it's, a tight war, it's a knockdown, drag out fight, and they, don't manage to win, it's bad, but not if they come out, not as bad as if they come out and lay a complete egg. So if they're competitive, there's still hope. If they come out flat in this must-win type of game, then it's trouble.
Yeah, I agree, because look, the Vikings, they have kind of proven that this is their style of playing. They stay in games, they win close ones. I mean, the previous 2 weeks, they've won close ones against the Chargers and the Packers. I forget if the Packers game went to overtime last week. Do you remember if it did?
The Packers did.
It went to overtime.
No, I think actually no. The Vikings held it for the end of the game.
Okay, so that's what it was.
I remember because they were getting some crap for it.
Okay. So yeah, that was a close one, and they still were able to pull it off.
Was it overtime? I don't remember.
Maybe it was. I don't know.
I don't know. I honestly, last week I wasn't paying too much attention to the.
Yeah. Regardless, it was a close game. And I think that the Vikings have proved that they can stay in these types of games, whereas the Niners, unfortunately, haven't. The games that they've been in that have been close, they've lost. So I just feel like the 49ers need to prove that they can continue to stay in these types of games, because that's the Viking style of play so far, and they've done well at it. Let's see some of the comments here. Christian says, I'm pretty sure that forced fumble against the Jaguars was the first time we started to drive on the other side of the 50 this season. Yeah, probably. Either we was asleep after the 2 weeks. After week 2, we not in slumber no longer, says JR Meadows. 17 sacks incoming. Wow, that's a hell of a prediction. Crazy. Yeah, that's a hell of a prediction. What up, Croc? Is Croc in here? Did I miss Croc? What's up if so? Mike trying to jump on?
I think it's because we're on at like a weird time where nobody else is would be on.
Yeah, probably. Vikes hit the game-winning field goal with no time left. Thanks, Joey. Yeah, so that's what it was. It was a close one. Yeah, no OT, my bad. No worries. Miss D-Buck, what the hell? Yeah, he's a huge loss. So looking at the sports books right now, Caesars has it at the 49ers a 3.5-point favorite, and the over-under at 49 points. Do you like those, the over-under? Do you like that amount they're favored by? What are you thinking?
I'm always team over, man. Like I always choose to take the over. But it sounds about right. I guess like really you get a 3-point cushion for being at home. And honestly, it's one of those situations where they're getting a half a point. This is like a push game in terms of betting. So it could go again, and that's how close this is, right? Both teams are 5-5. Both teams have had some heartbreaking losses. Both teams have had some impressive victories. You just don't know at this point in the season still what these team identities are. So that reflects in what the odds are. But if it's me, I think that the 49ers should be favored. They've been coming up, and again, they've become a team that people don't want to play. So at this stage of the season, they have some momentum behind them. And if they can keep it going, they become very dangerous, and they start picking up momentum at the right time of the season to make a run for the playoffs. And you like to see that, especially with, like you said, there's potential to get some guys back from injury and, all that stuff. So it's looking up for them.
I totally agree. The thing that I'm a little worried about is the 49ers, and you touched on it a few minutes ago, their home performances as of the last year. And I know a lot of the games were in Arizona, but even before that have been kind of shaky. Hopefully they broke that trend with the win against the Rams a few weeks ago. But they need to continue to show that, because if not, they don't have a home field advantage as it is. So they really need to take advantage. I remember on Monday night against the Rams, that stadium sounded so loud, even for my TV. And I know it was popping there in person. So then if you're going to this game, you need to get loud. You need to show the Niners that they actually do have a home field advantage, because they haven't showed that yet. And I hope the fans can prove that. And don't get me wrong, I know the Niners have played very, very poorly as of late, and they really didn't deserve it. But if they're trying to turn things around, trying to make that playoff push, it's extremely important that fans show up. JR Meadow says Cousins will not step up in that pocket long, which will going to force interceptions or sacks. I'm hoping Kirk is going to Kirk, and the 49ers just take advantage of it, because although he's not afraid, Matt, to push the ball down deep, he still makes boneheaded decisions and cannot pull it off when it matters most. So hopefully the 49ers can force him into that.
I mean, I guess, but I don't think that's really the narrative. He's got 21 touchdowns and 2 picks. He's got 106 passer rating. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't like it's too easy to just be lazy and rely on old narratives or whatever. He's had a good year this year. So if you sleep on him, that's this type of comment right here. If this is what the 49ers are thinking, they're going to get boat raced. Is if it's Cousins won't do this or Cousins won't do that, or Cousins going to make a boneheaded mistake, he's going to eat you alive. So they need to come out super quick and really set a statement and force Cousins into making those mistakes, not just rely on him too, because that's what people think or whatever. You know what I mean?
No, definitely, yeah. My point was, they need to force him into doing that, because if the pressure's there or if the coverage holds up, he seems to then make boneheaded mistakes. Now, he doesn't just automatically make boneheaded mistakes.
Yeah, the problem is if they don't get to Cousins quick, those wide receivers are significantly more talented than our DBs.
Oh, yeah.
So they're not going to be able to cover those guys long. So you have to get to them quick.
This is something we haven't talked about yet, and JB brought it up. Ford and Greenlaw coming back is good for sacks.
Are they back? I don't know that they're back yet. I haven't seen them. They have to be activated within the next half hour on the main roster to be back.
So it's not looking too great if that's the case.
So they have to announce that they activated them. Otherwise, it's just their practice windows are open from IR and they're expected to play. But if they don't activate them, then by 1:00 today, then they're not playing.
So let's
just assume that they are.
Let's assume they are. How much does that change things? Obviously, we know Azeez Al-Shaair has played very well while filling in for Dre Greenlaw. However, the 49ers have not had the opposite of Nick Bosa that D Ford provides. How much does that change his defense?
It changes a lot. I saw something on Next Gen Stats where it was like Bosa has a 30%, almost a 30% or 23% pressure rate when Ford's on the field, and only an 11% pressure rate when Ford's not on the field. So it obviously makes a difference. It's going to dictate the number of double teams that Bosa is going to be able to see on a down-to-down basis, because if Ford is out there and Ford is effective, you can't afford to just – it's a lot of Fords coming out of my mouth right now, but it's not prudent for the offense to just continue to double team Bosa while allowing D Ford to tear things up. It's going to become a pick your poison, and they're going to try to rely on the fact that Bosa lines up across from their alleged best offensive lineman, so let him do his job, and then you got to take care of Ford on the other side. It just opens up a lot of things for the pass rush. If they choose to continue to double team Bosa, Ford gets sacks. If they go straight up one-on-one, Bosa's going to get sacks. So it's all dependent on what they want. But Ford out there is definitely a good thing. And I'm interested to see Greenlaw, because Azeez Al-Shaair has been pretty good this year. So it'll be interesting to see how they rotate those guys in, and to see how long it takes for Greenlaw to kind of round into game shape.
I agree. And it kind of reminds me of the similar situation at the safety position when Tart went out and Hufanga kind of replaced him. And then when Tart got healthy again, Kyle Shanahan said, well, just because he's healthy doesn't mean he automatically gets his job back. Of course, we did see Tart get his starting job back, but would you say that's a similar situation here? Or do you think Greenlaw would automatically get his job back from Al-Shaair?
I mean, I think it's one of those situations where, yeah, you don't automatically give a guy his job back, but it's a similar situation, Tart to Hufanga, where there's a clear, and for whatever reason, some people don't like Drake Greenlaw, but I think it's pretty clear that he's a better football player than Azeez Al-Shaair. So you put your best players on the field to try to win the game. And what you really need to look out for, especially like Tart was another example, how are they responding coming back from injury? Do they look like they need more conditioning? Do they look like they need more time to round into game shape? That's when you have a heavier rotation of guys. And Tart was kind of a little bit like that the first week that he came back. He didn't necessarily get his job back. He played a lot, but Hufanga would spell him more. Now he's back to just, hey, it's Tart out there a lot. So I would expect a little bit of the same thing. And so I would expect that Greenlaw gets a lot of the reps if he can show that he's back. And keep in mind that he had core muscle injuries. So these are your core. So how is he going to be at moving back and forth and doing all that kind of stuff? So
yeah, that would be huge. Somebody said it here. I think it was Cloudbat says 12 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. Ring set up $25 per head. Bring your own alcohol. 12 to 14 men sign up. Anyone can fight. Jackpot estimated between 2,000. Wow. All right. This is an invitation to a fight club, it sounds like. So shout out.
That's kind of weird, but all right.
It's a little weird, but that's all right. Another Beniner said it. Greenlaw was missing tackles. That's where the hate comes from.
True, but he was also in line to make the most tackles. So if you have the most opportunities, you're going to have the most misses.
Yeah.
That's like, you know what I mean? Like a guy who gets 10 plate appearances and has 5 hits is batting 500, but that doesn't mean he's a better hitter than the guy that's batting 300 and has 500 plate appearances. You know what I mean? So Greenlaw gets a lot of tackles. It
seems like Al-Shaair makes the more, I don't want to say explosive plays, but he has the bigger hits.
Yeah.
And Greenlaw is kind of more of a sure thing. And Greenlaw, I think, is better in coverage.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I mean, Azeez has done a great job, but he still missed some tackles this year for sure.
Yeah.
He's definitely missed some plays.
Melissa says Javier and Jesse like Azeez better. He has more gap discipline and have been majorly pushing it on Twitter, putting down Dre. I mean, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I just think Greenlaw is the better overall linebacker than Al-Shaair. Not putting down Al-Shaair at all, because he's done a hell of a job filling in.
Yeah, that's guys, just because we like one player more than another, or like one player is kind of demonstrably better than another, that doesn't mean that other player is bad. That means that the 49ers have good depth, and that's what you want on the team. That means that they can put in Azeez Al-Shaair even with Greenlaw in the lineup and not lose a ton, which is what you want. Because we saw it when Al-Shaair went down, that it was like there was a game where like he missed the second half of a game, and they're putting in like Demetrius Flanagan Fowles, who, like, no disrespect to him, is just like, he's a journeyman guy. He's like a P squad guy. You don't want him out there all the time. Azeez Al-Shaair is a legitimate NFL like depth piece that you can have on your team that, will keep the team afloat and when missing out on a better player. Those are the types of glue guys that you need on your team to, build out and fill out a playoff roster. It's the difference between the teams that make it to the playoffs and the teams that don't, is that second line depth, because every team around the NFL, except maybe the Detroit Lions and the Houston Texans, have some frontline talent that any team would be like, yeah, that's a starter on our team. Every team in the NFL has that. But what most teams in the NFL don't have is either the number of talent or the depth of talent to be able to compete and withstand injuries, withstand fatigue, withstand different looks. Some teams are going to be really good against teams that run the ball, but not against the pass. Other teams are going to be the other way. So the teams with the most depth can cover the most ground in terms of what's coming at them, what they're going to be able to impose on the other team. So that's where we stand. Real quick, by the way, former 49er coach Jim Harbaugh is about to beat Ohio State for the first time. It's 42-27 with a $1.19 left. So congratulations to him.
That's awesome. I know you're a huge Michigan fan, so congrats to you too.
My grandfather went to Michigan, so that's kind of a family thing.
Yeah, that's nice. There was a comment here. Jamie says offense and defense has to work on all cylinders. No turning the ball over, no boneheaded penalties, progress on third downs. We shall win. The third down conversion rate has been surprising to me over the last few weeks, specifically against against the Rams 2 weeks ago. They were really impressive. Do you think they're able to continue that hot streak on third down, Matt?
I don't know. I didn't think they were that good at third down. I think they were only 6-12 last week. The thing is that they the 49ers were good. Are you talking defensively?
No, on offense.
Yeah, I think they were 6-12 last week.
The previous 2 weeks combined.
Yeah, it's still not third down. We talked about this on the post-game show. It's the fact that they're not turning the ball over is really what's been kind of driving them. I think third down is still they're about where they've been, but not turning the ball over has helped out in a lot of situations. And down and distance is a big thing. They haven't been in as many third and longs. They've been in third and shorts, which are much easier to convert on, even though they're still very similar. They've just done a good job of not getting behind the sticks.
That's fair. Yeah, I think you're right. I'm looking up the stats here. They're currently 22nd converting on third down with the 37.9%. With the last three weeks, they've been a 50% team. So yeah, there's an improvement there. But I do think that the 49ers, it seems like they're able to convert more so on first and second down to where they don't even get to the third down with their running game.
They've been doing a great job about that. Yeah.
Yep. Also, the fact that they were able to chew up a lot of clock. I mean, the past two games, essentially the entire first quarter has been chewed up by the 49ers opening drive.
Boy, he's really promoting a fight club.
It really does. I'm not going to lie. It seems like Clown Man, his chat here, he's giving address, he's giving time.
I know he's going to do it.
Bryce, make sure you tag us in it if you do it, man. But I was saying, the fact that they're able to chew up so much clock in that opening drive, Matt, that's not an easy thing to do by any means in the NFL. Do you think they're able to continue that, or has that kind of been more of a fluke thing the past 2 weeks?
It wasn't a fluke against the Jaguars. They were always going to come out and beat the brakes off the Jaguars. That was pretty clear that that's what was going to happen. And then the Rams game, man, division games are so tough to just look at in a vacuum and try to predict what happens because the teams know each other so well. I'd like to think that they could come out against a depleted defensive line for the Minnesota Vikings and just control the ball and control the clock. And if they can do that, I'll tell you that they'll definitely win the game. If they win time of possession by at least 5 minutes, they probably win the game.
Okay, I like that. Pretty fair. I do think that it's extremely tough, and we saw it. I forget which of the commentators said it against the Jaguars that you don't see too many 21 play drives where you're only gone, I don't know, 40, 50 yards, usually you're already on the opponent's 2-yard line, but the 49ers recently have done a lot of a lot of plays. And I'm just going to say it. Hopefully I don't get too much hate for this. That does kind of increase the chance of injury when you have a lot more plays that only go for 2 to 3 yards and you're, constantly going at it. Hopefully they're able to kind of still take a lot of the clock away, but with the ball running on larger chunk plays. Nothing but Niner says duck Jim in Michigan, Matt. That's for you right there.
That's okay. You go cry into your Ohio State loss. Hold that. What was it? It was 42-27. Dang, man. That's a huge loss right there. Ouch.
That's
Enjoy
tough.
watching Michigan in the playoffs.
That's tough. Do you think the 49ers will utilize Debo more as a wide receiver tomorrow?
By the way, real quick, Ohio State has ate our lunch for like 8 years, so I'm just going to enjoy this one a little bit. So I do think Debo is going to be utilized more. If Elijah Mitchell is out there and effectively playing and not just more of like a decoy or like, let's put him out there and see what happens. And then the finger, bothers him and he can't secure, or if he has like an early fumble, that would be something else to watch out for. But if Mitchell is out there running effectively, then I do think Debo becomes more like his traditional role rather than what he had been doing against the Jaguars, like running the ball. So.
Okay. I hope they just get him to 6 yards, man. That's all I'm asking for. Get him to 1,000. But also I want to talk about Brandon Ayuk, who has showed up very, very majorly in the last couple of weeks after him and Shanahan had words for each other or whatever the exact phrase he used. How big is Brandon Ayuk's emergence this season helping the 49ers offense?
He's been nice. He's been very nice.
Yeah.
The last few weeks, he looks like he's what we thought he was going to be after his outstanding rookie year. So seeing him get through this adversity and actually show an improvement in season, like we all remember, and it's a sore wound to bring up, but like remember going into camp of his third year, Dante Pettis was like, came back, he didn't have the color in his hair, and he was like, oh yeah, I was hurt about it at the time, but I realized I needed to be coached hard. I get it, and then came out and did nothing, at less than nothing. And Brandon Ayuk says, no, we had words, and ever since he said that, he's been absolutely balling. So like that's a guy who's like, you lay down the gauntlet for him and he's like, all right, I'm gonna pick it up and we're gonna do some stuff with it, and I love to see that. That shows the kind of character that he has and the kind of fight that he has, and those are the guys that you want on your team. Those are the guys that are not going to give up no matter what. And so it's really cool to see Brandon Ayuk really come out of his shell like that.
I agree. I just had to say, for those listening, I had to comment myself saying I'm about to show up to this fight club in Virginia. Let's do it. I'll take a flight right now. Yeah, Ayuk's been impressive, though. I know against the Rams, he only had 3 receptions for 26 yards. But if I remember correctly, a couple of them, or at least one of them, was to move the chains again. And then last week against the Jaguars, he was 7 receptions, 85 yards, and a touchdown. And we talked about it, I believe it was in the recap show last week, how impressive he is at just plucking that ball out of the air and immediately bringing it into his center of mass.
Yeah,
it's so hard to knock that out. So
yeah, it's very quick.
Yeah. This is a good question from Melissa. Who would you guys want to see extended first, Debo or Nick?
I mean, Debo's up first, right?
I believe so.
No, they're the same draft class, right? Are they the same draft class?
I don't think so. I thought Debo was drafted. I think you're right. They might have been the same draft class.
If they're the same draft class, then it's Nick Bosa, and it's not even a question.
Yeah.
It's not even like, Nick Bosa all day.
I agree. Unfortunately, and it might be the tough answer to hear for some fans, but positionally, when you're kind of ranking them in matter of importance, pass rusher is higher up on the list than wide receiver. But that doesn't discount Debo Samuel's importance at all, because he's the best player on this team, at least at the very least on the offense for sure. But this season, his role cannot be understated. He's been extremely vital to the 49ers, 5 wins. And if they have any chance of moving forward, they're going to need to continue to incorporate him heavily. But yeah, I agree with you, Matt. Nick Bosa needs to be extended first. Is there any concern from your end that the 49ers come to the table maybe a little cheap and try and pull one over on them?
No, I don't think so. They're going to try to do what they do, which is like maneuver a little bit of the salary cap or whatever, massage the cap. But I don't think either of these guys is going to walk. And remember, even if they can't come to a long-term agreement, the franchise tag is still in play. I don't think the 49ers have used the franchise tag in a while. I think they used it on Robbie Gould last, and that was like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So there's no, and obviously you kind of don't want to use it on Nick Bosa just because Nick Bosa would be tremendously expensive.
Yep.
Not that Deebo Samuel would be cheap, but I think it allows you a little bit more wiggle room if it's Deebo Samuel and not Nick Bosa. But I think that both of these guys are going to get extended eventually. I just look at the Kansas City Chiefs. Salary cap's kind of a myth. So
that's fair.
It becomes a lot easier. And this is the thing where, I don't want to get into the quarterback battle, but when people say, oh, Jimmy could be the starting quarterback in 2022, no. The money and the people that need to be signed are dictating otherwise. Like, he's not going to be here next year.
Yeah. I will say, though, it is a bit concerning how many. First, it was kind of said in passing. Then it was said by the commentators of the game that, oh, Jimmy could be back again here next season as a starter. And now we're seeing articles about it. It is a little concerning, but I agree with you. I don't think they can financially make it
but these
happen.
are from the same people that watched Patrick Mahomes struggle for 2 or 3 games and are like, Mahomes has washed the leagues. Who would have thought that the league would have figured out Patrick Mahomes before they figured out Lamar Jackson? And then he throws 4 touchdowns. And they're like, oh, never mind. Godlike again, whatever. There's media and the way that they write, it's all for clicks. And it's just like, come on, man.
That's fair. That's fair. Melissa says, I'm worried about Nick because he always talks about playing with Joey again. There's no way I can ever imagine them being able to be paid by the same team. That would take up 30-40% of a team's salary cap, I would imagine, if they were both paid by the Chargers. And vice versa. I don't think the Niners would be able to ever afford Joey and Nick Bosa on the same team. It's a hell of a dream, but I don't see it happening.
I don't think either of those guys thinks that that's realistic, man, because it'd be them and a bunch of rookies.
Yeah, exactly. The only way they could ever do it is if they're both in the same conference and they both go to the Pro Bowl. That's the only way I could see them. Yeah. Stovey 4x4ing says Jimmy isn't here in 22. People need to stop that narrative. So he agrees with you, Matt. Yep.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd be emotional after a Michigan game, says Tommy Huxley.
It's been a long time coming, man. And by the way, a lot of it is because Ohio State fans are obnoxious with the OHIO crap. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Ohio sucks.
Yeah. Melissa says Jimmy Camp also leaked stuff because he was treated unfairly. Man, just brings toxicity and drama. I don't have any proof for that, but if you're claiming that, that's pretty unfortunate.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's trying to. That would be the smart thing. I'd have PR people getting out in front of it too.
And can we also just acknowledge the fact that all we've heard this season is how much of a pro and as much of a gentleman that Jimmy Garoppolo has been? He's literally doing the bare minimum that he could do to not cause drama. He's not going out of his way. When they were both the 49ers bye week and Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo were hurt and they both stayed around for the facility. I'm sure you remember this, Matt. They were asked in the following press conference, oh, were you guys training together? Were you watching film together? And I think it was Jimmy who said, oh, no, we didn't even really see each other. It's like none of them. And it should be on the vet to take the initiative to go and say, hey, we're both here. Why don't we do X, Y, Z together? I haven't heard any of that. So Jimmy, yeah, I do not doubt that his camp is kind of leaking this pro. Jimmy's such a pro. Jimmy's such a gentleman for his next team because he's obviously not going to be here soon.
I mean, and who even knows? Doesn't really matter. I don't know. I don't think your quarterbacks need to be best friends all the time anyway. So
no, not necessarily best friends. It's just do as a vet, this guy's under you. And I've seen quarterbacks do it completely differently. I mean, we've seen Tom Brady essentially say, F you, figure it out. I think Aaron Rodgers said that Brett Favre was essentially like that to him. Hey, you're here to replace me. I'm not going to help you replace me, figure it out on your own. Which also is, I think, kind of funny for the people that say, oh, let him sit behind a really good quarterback. He's going to learn all this knowledge. Maybe, but it's not going to be at the veteran quarterback's help necessarily. Jello Parachi, I apologize. I'm probably butchering that name. Says, I know people say salary cap is a mess, but I don't see how we could have re-signed Debo and both off.
I think he's talking about how they couldn't have re-signed Debo and Bosa.
Oh, okay.
If
we would have kept
Buckner. Well, they don't have to re-sign him this offseason.
Right.
They have one more year. So next year is year 4 for them. So they're definitely going to exercise the 5th year on Bosa, which gives them a little bit of extra time too. But this right here, when people go, oh man, I miss Buckner, this is the reason why they traded Buckner. Because Buckner is now he's the second highest defensive tackle in the league behind Aaron Donald, and it's defensive tackle. And it's not the same positional value that you need out of like an edge rusher. Yeah. You know, for as good as Buckner is, like Bosa's better. Yeah. And so Bosa's the one that you need to keep around. So that's how that goes.
Yep, I agree. Melissa says it's true, guys. He even admitted how hard it was to watch Trey come in and get touchdowns. We got to stop babying his feelings. Yuck, crybaby about Jimmy. Yeah, damn, Melissa's a savage today. Yep, that's true.
Listen, she's right, though. Like any professional athlete, you only get to be a professional if you're kind of like a psycho competitor. You know what I mean? Like, even on some level, you know, the scrubs, like, you know, Dante Pettis are competitive on certain levels, right? It's easy to be competitive when you're better than everybody, right? But when, you know, he runs into adversity, but a lot of these guys are like absolutely just out of their minds with competitiveness, and you know they don't want to lose their spot, and everybody's watching out for them. It is team, but at the end of the day, it's also Jimmy Garoppolo realizing, look, I got to find somewhere to play, so I can't be missing all this time. I can't, you know, the knock on me is already that I'm injured, so I don't want to watch Trey throwing touchdown passes, because if I don't get to go back out there and the last image that people saw of me is me being injured, then where am I going to go? You know, and he's been playing. I mean, we've seen it. Like, I know Croc had Locked On 49ers, where like the tagline of the episode was like, is Jimmy G like worth a first round pick or whatever? He's playing himself and his value higher and higher to where the 49ers might be able to actually salvage something from that, you know, from that trade. So,
yeah. Kali says it's not Jimmy's job to babysit Trey. Jimmy's job is to be ready, help us execute on offense. Jimmy sees the writing on the wall. Yep, that's a good point as well. You know, it's not his job necessarily to mentor Trey Lance. That's why I said he's doing the bare minimum when it comes to being the ultimate pro that all of these reporters and commentators are saying he's being. He's just not causing drama, which is appreciated. Don't get me wrong. But the fact that Trey Lance is here, I think, caused some drama in itself. And I think that may have been kind of the friction we saw in this team in the first half of the season and why they couldn't pull together to win games. Tommy Huxley with the super chat. Thank you very much, Tommy, for your support. He says, is this game the secondaries to lose, or the defensive line, or Jimmy Garoppolo's? What do you think, Matt?
I mean, the defense needs to do the best that they can to limit. If it comes down to Jimmy G either winning or losing the game, that's going to be tough. I think that they need to be able to control the clock and limit big plays. So it's going to be an entire team. They need the entire team. This is one of those dangerous teams that you need a well-rounded performance and a sharp performance from beginning to end to pull it out.
I agree. With that said, though, to give you a little bit of an answer, Tommy, I'm going to say the secondary, just because of how lethal the Vikings receivers are when they're on. I mean, Justin Jefferson has been arguably the best receiver this season. You could definitely make the argument for Adam Thielen is no scrub by any means. And when Kirk can execute the offense and when he's rolling, they're a dangerous team to compete with. So I'm going to say the secondary just for that reason. Steve-O Supremo says Smith was never a great pro. I don't know. He had some very, very...
In what way? In like, you mean that like as a football player, like he wasn't a great pro football player? He was perfectly fine. He had a 14-year career where he started just about every single year of his career.
I think he means maybe as a mentor.
I mean, I guess, but he was gracious when Colin Kaepernick replaced him. He was gracious when Patrick Mahomes replaced him. I don't know. I'm not gonna put up with no slander because like me and my wife, we know the Smith family personally, and they're like good people. So
He was, I
we've
would
met them before, and he's like he's a good dude.
totally disagree with Steve-O. I think he was a hell of a pro.
Yeah.
He got benched after an injury with the Niners, which is kind of unheard of, but he took
An
it like a
injury in
pro.
which they were like 5-1-1.
Yep. And he had been very, very, very playing very, very well. This is something I wanted to get into. Melissa said, who won the retweet giveaway? When did we see the stamp? I missed you guys live due to being sick. I missed the stamp. So Wednesday, right? I'm at work and I already tweeted out like, you guys got to stay tuned. I'm going to announce the giveaway winner. I'm rushing through work, trying to get out early for Thanksgiving. I saved it as a draft and I never tweeted it out. So the winner of the merch store giveaway that we were supposed to announce on Wednesday, I apologize, was Ace Daddy. I think he has a different Twitter name, but he did share the stream. He was the first to do it. And when I selected randomly with my eyes closed, it was him. Ace Daddy, if you're watching, congrats. Reach out to us. We'll get you some merch. I apologize for it being late. If not, I'll reach out to you after the stream.
Ace Daddy's Ace Daddy's a big follower of ours, so we appreciate that.
Definitely. And thank you, Melissa, for bringing it up because I had it here on my notes that I needed to make sure I announced who won. We're going to get into our predictions, offensive, defensive MVP. Okay. I was going to ask this next. So for those listening, Ryuken says, do we trade Lance if Jimmy wins us a chip?
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
It would be like
that would be such a sunken cost.
Yeah.
You're not getting multiple first round picks for Trey Lance as it stands right now.
Nope. I don't see them ever. Jimmy would be traded, and you would then probably get a first rounder, I would imagine, in turn for him and help recoup some of that. The rookie salary is way too beneficial, and for somebody who, as they're as high as on Trey Lance, there's no way that they'd give him up just because Jimmy helped the 49ers win a chip. Now, I could make the
argument. I'll put it this way, by the way, about Trey Lance. If Trey Lance was still in college this year, he would be the first quarterback taken this year.
Yeah.
The rest of the quarterback class, I don't care about Kenny Pickett. I don't care about Carson Strong. I don't care about, Willis. I don't care about any of those guys. If Trey Lance was in college this year, he would be the first quarterback off the board this year, bar none. So you're not going to trade that. What you're going to try to do is get a 30-year-old injury-prone Jimmy Garoppolo out of here while his values are the highest. Besides the fact that Jimmy's going into a contract year next year.
Yep. And, a team like Houston or maybe even Miami, I don't know, one of these teams might bite. So they might bite as it is, even without him winning a chip. So we'll see. Melissa added, Madison is also a threat when Cook can't get it done. Yeah, Alexander Madison, the running back for the Vikings, backup, very, very capable back, and someone the 49ers need to make sure they, keep an eye on because he can get it going very, very easily. Great point. Norman is not a matchup to Jefferson, man, says Tommy Huxley. Not at all.
I'm worried about that one, dude. I feel like they better be on top of their zones. Otherwise, Norman's going to get cooked.
Yep, exactly. This is for Alex Smith. He's a great man. He was in the playoffs. He came off a gruesome injury, helped Washington football team back into the playoffs. Yeah, there's no Smith slander here at all. We love Alex Smith.
We could just move on from this topic because that's just bar none. He's a great dude.
Yeah.
Nothing but respect and love for Alex Smith.
Yep. Okay, so last comment before we get into our predictions. Tommy says Jimmy ain't winning a chip this season. That's a pipe dream.
I don't see it either. Like too many different teams. I don't know that are displaying better.
Yep. And with much better defenses. I'll say that right now. Yeah. Jamie says,
Jamie Bryant, welcome to the channel. We appreciate having you here. Thank you for subscribing.
Yes, thank you very much. If you guys haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Once we reach 2,000 subscribers.
Probably about to get banned, by the way.
We're giving away a 49ers jersey, so hit the subscribe button. It could be you.
Probably about to get banned.
Cully's comment, Jeff Garcia was definitely better than Smith. We won't get into this at all. Melissa, last question before we get into our predictions. Guys, do you see teams like Pittsburgh, Atlanta, New York Giants, especially burnt by journey or rookie quarterbacks? Do you think they may take Jimmy Garoppolo?
I could see Pittsburgh for sure. I don't know. It just depends on It's hard to see. It's hard to see a fit because you need the right type of offense. See, I think about Pittsburgh, and then I'm like, I don't know. Jimmy doesn't have a lot of arm, and in Pittsburgh in November and December, you're going to need it. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Out of those,
I don't see Pittsburgh. I don't see New York. Atlanta's definitely off the board because we still owe Matt Ryan so much money. Like I even think next year his dead cap is still something obscene. So they can't even move on. I think his dead cap next year is like $40 million or something. So
hell of a contract, Atlanta. Great job.
It's definitely a hell of a contract.
Yeah. Out of these three, I would say Pittsburgh or New York, with maybe a little bit of an edge to Pittsburgh. But with that said, Matt's points are very, very valid and very concerning if you're Pittsburgh wanting to add a guy who has issues pushing the ball down the field. They've somewhat made it work with Big Ben for the past season or two, but they haven't won anything. So that kind of shows how much it's worked. Buccaneers are not a threat with secondary issues. When you have Tom Brady, you're always a threat.
Also, they're the defending champ, so you can't say they're not a threat.
Yeah. Neither is Stafford. That clown is so overrated. He's a good quarterback. He may not show up when it matters most, but he's a good quarterback. Daniel Jones is getting roasted so badly, and Pittsburgh can't trust Big Ben at all. That great points as well. But
I don't think that Jimmy would thrive there. I don't think he has the arm in either of those cities. Those are like weather cities, and I just don't know if he can do it.
Yep. I agree. Funny thing, this goof was actually competitive against us. Stafford was horrific. Goof. Let's wait for the second game against the Rams before we can count out Matt Stafford because
because all the slander is going to be against Matt Stafford, and then he's going to throw like 400 yards and 6 touchdowns or something.
Yeah, exactly. Look, he got the Rams into a hole very early that they weren't able to come out of. If those plays go a little differently, maybe the whole game goes a little differently, but I'm going to wait before I start slandering Matt Stafford because he's a very capable quarterback. Let's just put it at that. Collie says, no, a quarterback who couldn't push the ball down the field. Laughing face emoji. All right. With that said, Matt, offensive and defensive MVP predictions of the Vikings versus 49ers game. Who do you got?
Offensive MVP, I'm going to say George Kittle this game. Five catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown. I think he's going to have a touchdown for the 4th game in a row.
All right. I love it. Let's see. Offensive. I'm going to stick with Debo. And I think that Debo, they do use him. I think Elijah Mitchell plays. I think they use Debo more so as a receiver and less in the backfield tomorrow. And I'm going to say Debo, 8 catches, 115 yards, and a touchdown. And he becomes the first 49ers wide receiver since Anquan Bolden to reach 1,000 yards. Who would you say defensive? I think I already know, but I got to ask.
You already know. It almost happened on the show that I didn't even that I couldn't make. It's Nick Bosa, 3 sacks and a forced fumble. We're going to speak it into existence.
I love it. Yeah, you got very close the other night when you weren't able to make it.
You had 2 sacks, and I just said in the voice chat, I was like, now all I need is a strip sack, and we're good to go.
Very, very close. Let's see. For me, defensive MVP, I think I'm going to say, I don't want to say D Ford because I don't even think he's going to play, but if he would play, I might want to give it to him. I'm going to say Fred Warner. I think Fred Warner, I picked him last week, and I think he continues to get back to the Fred Warner we know. And I'm going to say he gets a pick. I think he gets a pick tomorrow, and the 49ers continue to get those defensive turnovers. I think that they're able to pressure Kirk and to throw in an errant pass. Fred Warner takes advantage, and he gets a pick. Katie Claiborne agrees with me. Fred Warner is due for a good game. That's right. Melissa, Ayuk, and Jones I'm going with. I love it. Bosa is Jamie Bryant. Before we get into our final score predictions, Tommy Huxley says, do you think the Cards fall apart and the Rams win the division? Many are pushing that narrative.
No, the Rams have 2 division wins, or the Cardinals have 2 division wins with Colt freaking McCoy as their quarterback. 1 against us. So no, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
The Rams have looked too outclassed by too many teams right now. Like Tennessee came in and ate their lunch in LA. And then we beat the crap out of them too. So
I agree. And
Ooh, I like
before
this
we get
question
into,
from Newbie. I like that question.
let's get into it. What can we do to remove the curse of Levi's?
Demolish the stadium. Go back to Candlestick Point.
Yep.
Yeah.
They should have never left.
And it's something weird. So I was looking at the profile of the stadium, and they were worried about like the FAA stuff and things like that. I'm wondering why they didn't depress the stadium a little more. Like the field of play could have been like lower. I don't know. That's just something to think about, I guess. I've seen some stadiums where like the surrounding outside area, the stadium doesn't look very tall, and then you walk in and the stadium's actually further down. So it's like big, but I don't know.
Yeah,
But yeah, I can't stand Levi's. The fact that that design was meant for Candlestick Point, and then when they moved the project down to Santa Clara, that they didn't redesign the stadium to take into account Santa Clara, just blows my mind.
It is very weird, but you got that nice open stadium to see corporate offices and parking lots. So that's
well,
nice
and part of it was to let the wind through.
Yeah.
That's why that stadium is designed like that, with that huge cutout where you have the suites on the one side, the flat side, and then you have the U-shaper on the other side with that big gigantic cutout. It was to take advantage of the Candlestick wind. Just ugh.
I blame the city of San Francisco for not working with the Niners. I remember that whole debacle when it happened. They were very, very difficult in approving the funds and all of that, whatever issues, legal issues that had to go with it. And Santa Clara was standing there saying, come down here, guys. And now it's kind of ridiculous because the Niners are in a constant battle with the city of Santa Clara. And
they hate each other.
They definitely hate each other. And I think they were accusing them of not paying taxes or some sort of fees recently. So
yeah,
it's not a good relationship they have. And whenever, I mean, I don't know, 20, 30 years, how long do stadiums last? I hope they do eventually move back to San Francisco.
Right.
Sun right on your forehead. Yeah, it's hot as hell. Exactly. And there's nothing they can do. Absolutely nothing.
They need to move back to San Francisco. Definitely. It's just, it hasn't been good.
I say, nope, that's not even possible. I was going to say sell the stadium to the Raiders, but now the Raiders have a wonderful stadium in Las Vegas. So not going to happen. Before we get into our offense, or excuse me, our final score predictions, we got to thank our sponsors. And guys, first off, you know who we got to thank? MyBookie. So right now, if you guys head over to MyBookie.AG and you enter code Hive, you will get your first deposit matched 100%, all the way up to $1,000. Oh, let me change this here. Sorry, I'm working with this new. Let me see. 1 second. Bear with us, guys.
6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Let's see. Matt's gone for now. There we go.
Hey,
we got it eventually. Go to MyBookie.ag, enter code Hive. If you guys took advantage of the Thanksgiving bets, you could have bet up to $250 risk-free, bet against the spread. And if you won the $250 bet. If you lost, you got it refunded. And right now, if you place your bets Cyber Monday, you bet on week 12, you get week 13 free, specifically in the Seahawks versus Washington game and the Patriots versus the Bills. 2 good games, playoff implications possibly in both. So make sure you go MyBookie.ag. Like I said, enter code Hive. You can double your first deposit up to $1,000. And as you see on screen, a $20 casino chip to bet in the MyBookie casino. Got to take advantage of this, guys. It's not going to be around for much longer. MyBookie.ag, promo code Hive, Hive. Shout out to MyBookie. Thank you very much for sponsoring the show. Next, we got to say thank you, and Melissa brought it up earlier, to the gold stamp. Get Acre Gold, guys. You no longer have to fork out hundreds of dollars at a time to buy gold. You can spend as little as $50 a month by buying gold, and once you reach the market price of 2.5 grams, Acre Gold will discreetly send you 2.5 gram gold bar. Matt calls it a gold stamp because it is a little small. 2.5 grams. They weigh it out. It's perfect. Click the link in the description. You can start buying gold for as low as $50 a month. You can take advantage. Red and Gold Center podcast. You know we got to sell some gold here. Third, we got a shout out to 81 Vino. They had a fantastic Black Friday special. If you guys didn't take advantage, you can still get 10% off your purchase. 81vino.com, promo code Hive, and you'll get 10% off your entire purchase. Free shipping on 2 or more bottles. Shout out to Terrell Owens. He got in the wine business. 81vino.com, promo code Hive. 10% off, free shipping on 2 or more bottles. And lastly, we got to plug our merch, guys. Go to shop49ershive.com, promo code RGS15, as in Red Gold Standard 15, 15% off all your entire purchase. We had a Black Friday special that was up to 25% off. And if you guys got it, took advantage of it, fantastic. If not, you can still get 15% off. So shop49ershive.com, code RGS15. We're going to get some Christmas merch up soon. We got to think of something special. I'm not sure if I want to do the Santa Claus merch again, but we'll see. We'll get something special and Christmas themed for you guys up very, very soon. All right. Shout out to all of our sponsors. Go support them, guys, because they support us. Matt, wrapping it up. Final score predictions. Huge playoff implications. Who do you got?
49ers 28-24. They're going to come out and carry business. And I look like Paul Bunyan because I grew this beard myself.
Love it. Love it. Mariah says, I ordered me a Trey Area Hive shirt this morning. Can't wait to get it. Thank you, Mariah. Appreciate the support. I love that Trey Area design. It's one of my favorite ones. Stamp. That's right. Gosh, this is going to be a tough one. Over under at 49. I'm going to say 31-27, and I think the 49ers take it. I think they are finally getting things together. I think they're able to overcome the Vikings and all of their weapons offensively. I think they take advantage of the Vikings defensive line being weakened, and they run the ball down their throats, use Debo as a fantastic weapon, and Ayuk. I think they take it 31-27. Guys, make sure you drop your final score predictions as well, either in the live chat or in the comments. You know how we do it here at Red Gold Center Podcast. If you get it right, we're going to send you some free merch. If you're watching this after the stream has concluded, drop a comment in the comment section on YouTube, or you can tweet it at us. Our handles are below on the screen. Mine, Matt's personally, and RGS as well. So go shout out then and check out 49ershive.com. We got some great articles coming at you guys. We got a preview up by Ted right now of the 49ers Vikings game. Go check it out, 49ershive.com, and hit subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, because we're trying to reach 2,000 subscribers so we can give away a 49ers jersey.
Yep.
Matt, you want to take us home?
Absolutely. It's an exciting game. I love, that we're at this point in the season when it looked like it was a little bit lost. So if they come out hot, then we got a good game. So with that in mind, everybody, thank you. And we hope that you had a great Thanksgiving with your families. Enjoy the holiday weekend. We'll be back here with the post-game show. So until next time, go Niners.